Hey, hope you're having a good day. So, I've been meaning to make a video about my experience last summer and living abroad for 5 months since I came home in November. Like, it's March now, so like 5 months ago. But I just hadn't gotten around to it. And I'm actually in Estonia, in Tallinn at the moment. So, I figured now is going to be a really good time to just make a quick video about it. And I kind of just wanted to share some things as well because I wish I had watched a video someone kind of explaining their realistic experiences of what happened when they went abroad, because I think there's a few things that are like obvious and then a few things that people maybe don't talk about as much with the realities of living abroad. So I had actually meant to move to Berlin back in March of 2020 with my girlfriend, and I had paid like 2.5 grand for an apartment, 1,500 of which was for a deposit, which is like crazy. I would never do that again. That was definitely a poor mistake. 1,000 was for the rent, but I had paid for the rent on like I think it was like the 5th of March, something like that, and COVID had happened around the 15th or the 16th of March. So I got really lucky that there was a thing in the contract where if you asked for a refund within 14 days, you could get it. And I had requested a refund, I think about 12 and a half or 13 days after I'd paid the 2.5 grand. But it took me about like 6 weeks to actually get the money back, and a lot of like strongly worded emails back and forth between me and the company that I was dealing with, Wonderflats. So if you are actually going to move abroad, I would not recommend using Wonderflats. I'd actually recommend using Airbnb or Spot a Home. Those two are quite good, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. But yeah, long story short, ended up not getting to go to Berlin with my girlfriend. And looking back now, it was actually a really good thing that I didn't go abroad, because business wise, I wasn't in the right position at the time to move abroad. But in May of last year, I was definitely in the right position, and it made kind of sense to move abroad, and I had a good opportunity to do it. So thankfully, with the support of my girlfriend, she was the one that pushed me to do it, because I wasn't going to go without her, because she runs her own business as well, and she needs to do that in Ireland. But she, really supported me to go and do it, and to do some traveling, and to just go to, I'd always wanted to live in Spain. And that was something that I knew that if I didn't do it when I was like 70 or 80 or whatever, I know that I'd look back and regret not actually taking the opportunity to do that. So I'm really happy that I did it. And on May 31st of last year, May 31st, 2022, I moved from Dublin to Barcelona. I literally had a backpack, a 10 kg gear bag. I had my bike in a bike bag, and then like a 20 kg suitcase. So I had basically my whole life in like 4 bags, and then brought that over to Barca, and then I stayed in like a hostel that was like I think 45 euro or something for a night, just for one night, because it actually worked out cheaper to go over on May 31st, because my lease on the apartment that I had rented in Barca was from the 1st of June to like the 31st of August for 3 months. So I basically stayed in a hostel for a night. Really struggled to carry my bags. With those 4 bags, I couldn't even like, I could walk about 5 foot and then I'd have to put them down, because you'd need like 3 or 4 hands, honestly, to hold that much stuff. And especially the bike bag as well weighed about, I don't know, it's like 20 kilos or 25 kilos. So I had about 55 kg of luggage, which is pretty awkward. But I ended up moving in on June 1st, and I used Spot a Home to get the apartments in Barcelona. And the thing that I didn't realize, the area that I was in, it on the map it looked good, but when I got there, I was like, oh shit, like this is not as in a nice area as I thought it was going to be. Because the apartment that I'd rented itself was nice studio apartment. There's a downstairs and an upstairs, big open ceilings. You might have seen it in some videos that I posted from last year. But it was quite spacious for €800 a month. And when I was living in Dublin, it was on my contract. It was like my last month in the place I was staying was like 725 for a double room, or just for a room with a double bed. So to get a whole apartment to myself for 800 was really good. And this place was only about a 5 minute walk, literally, off Las Ramblas, or from Plaza de Catalunya. And the area that I was in was just, it was like one street down too far. It ended up being on a back street. So in the apartment itself was lovely, but when you came off it, there's a lot of homeless people, a lot of people using drugs, like literally like needles, and like just a lot of like nasty stuff on the street. Thankfully, like in Barcelona, they keep it really clean, so the street sweepers and stuff would go by like every day, like 4 a.m. But like in between them cleaning the place, there was still, a lot of people on the street, and needles, and there's like cockroaches, and not that many. Like one flew into the apartment one day, and it took me about 20 minutes to. I had to get a brush and kill it, and it was like, oh, extremely unpleasant. I'm not a fan of cockroaches at all, but managed to get them out after about 20 minutes. RIP. But yeah, it's just some stuff like that. It's like if I was to move to Barcelona again, I would either use Spot at Home is pretty good, because when you use it, they actually do like video tours. Um, so you can see what it looks like, and you know that it's legit. Um, but actually, in future, Airbnb has actually been the one company that I've had the best experience with, and they're very responsive in terms of refunds or support or anything like that. So Airbnb is something that I definitely would use in future if I was to move back to Barcelona for a few months, or something like that. Um, I'm pretty sure they only do. It has to be less than 90 days, so it's fine for a short stay, but longer term, I'm not sure. I haven't experienced that. But yeah, so anyway, with this place in Barcelona, it was lovely, but just the area wasn't great. Um, but living there kind of was fine, because it was pretty. Other than that, it was fine, to be honest. Like there was no real major issues or anything like that. Um, so with Airbnb, when I was living in Barcelona for 3 months, and there's a 90-day limit on staying if you're a European citizen. So I'm from Ireland. So if you are moving within the EU, you can stay for a maximum of 90 days before you need to go somewhere else. If you want to stay longer than 90 days, you need to apply for a specific extension. They're pretty easy to get. You just need paperwork, but I wasn't really interested in staying much longer. So basically what ended up happening was I was in Barcelona. I wanted to see as much as possible of the country. So I seen Barca City, and then my parents were actually going to Murcia. So when they were going down there in July, I pretty much seen nearly all of Barca over the space of about 6 weeks, and then went from Barca got the train down to Valencia, spent about 8 hours in Valencia, rented a scooter, and then went all around Valencia, went to see the beach, and there's some amazing. I don't even know how to describe it. It's an aquarium. That's what it is. But the sculptures outside of it is like, honestly, I felt like I was in Futurama. It's like amazing. Like you'd have to see photos just to kind of understand what I mean. It's so beautiful. So went to Valencia for a day, and then got a train down from Valencia to Murcia. God, I'm talking too much. So went from Barca to Valencia to Murcia, and then stayed in Murcia for a few days, and then an 8 hour train back from Murcia up to Barca, which was, I think, like €60 for an 8 hour train, which is pretty good. Um, and then a few weeks later went to Perpignan for a day trip, and with Perpignan ended up getting a bus from Barca at like 7 a.m. I think it was like 2-hour bus to Perpignan, and went and seen that for the day because that was the closest. I had always wanted to go to France, but I'd never had the opportunity before, or I'd never gone there. So decided to get the bus to Perpignan, and then walked around pretty much all of Perpignan. Got the bus out to Canet-et-Roussillon, which is like a really nice long beach just outside of Perpignan. And then on the way back, the I got back to the bus station, and the bus was supposed to leave at like 9 o'clock, and the bus got delayed by the trip itself back to Barca is supposed to be like 2 hours long, and the bus got delayed by 2.5 hours. So I ended up not getting back to Barca until like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Um, but I was just so happy that the bus actually got back, because I was sitting there just being like, oh my god, am I going to be here like all night, or am I have to going to go get a hotel, or I didn't know what was going to happen. But it ended up working out okay in the end, but just was really like was uncertain of what was going to happen. So then spent another few weeks in Barca. Was pretty happy with everything that I got to see. Did a little bit of training in El Club de la Lucha, because last year I was doing a bit of Muay Thai. Still am focusing on boxing and Muay Thai just as something kind of new to do. So I trained some Muay Thai there for a couple of months, and then I was trying to decide, where am I going to go next from Barca? And I looked all around the map of Europe, like, oh, maybe I'll go to Portugal, maybe I'll go to Hungary, maybe I'll go to Switzerland, Austria. And I was trying to figure out, like, okay, I'm not going to go to any of those places. Realistically, I want to go somewhere warm and somewhere that I know, like, I'm probably not going to get to go back to. It's going to be a long time before I get to go back there. Again, I was thinking in terms of like, okay, when I'm 75, I don't want to look back and have any regrets. So I ended up deciding, I looked at Palermo and I was like, Palermo looks cool, but I don't know, am I going to have the money to do it? Is it worth it? And I was looking at rent on Airbnb, and it was kind of ranging between like 900 to 1100. And then I was like, okay, no, maybe I won't go there. And then I looked at nearly every other country in Europe. And then I got back to Palermo and I was like, okay, I think I will. And I looked through nearly like 45 different Airbnbs in Palermo and ended up finding this really nice spot. And long story short, booked that and got this amazing 2-bedroom apartment, about 25-minute walk from Palermo City. And it was, when you booked it for 3 months, the price of it actually dropped from like 1,200 a month to like 940 a month, something like that. And that's it. That's the interesting thing with Airbnb. You actually get big discounts when you book for a month or longer. So if you are thinking of going somewhere, you can nearly, because I looked at it and I was like, the price of booking somewhere for 2 weeks, you could almost get it the same for a month because of the automatic discount that comes off when you book somewhere for 30 days or longer. So I ended up getting a really good deal on that place, 940 a month. And the thing that I'd kind of been struggling during the summer with feeling lonely, because my girlfriend was still living in Ireland and a lot of my, good friends were still in Ireland. And as much as I was enjoying the experience of being somewhere new, going to the beach every day, meeting some new people, at Muay Thai, it's still, I felt like I had that gap there, and I was definitely struggling with feeling lonely. And I'd moved to Palermo then on like day 89 of being in Barca, and got to the apartment, was okay, and then was in Palermo for like 4 or 5 days. Flew back to Ireland for 5 days because I hadn't seen my girlfriend at that point for about a month and a half, nearly 2 months. And then I hadn't seen loads of my friends since like May. So went home, caught up with everybody, see my grandparents. But then when I got back to Palermo, I was just like super depressed for like about 2 weeks. And, at that point I hadn't seen any of Sicily. I'd just kind of been around Palermo City, but I hadn't seen San Vito del Capo or Cefalù or Catania or any of those places. And I was just feeling like super depressed and like miserable and like, what am I doing with my life, basically. um, so I knew that I was going to have to do something. And I felt kind of, I'd booked the apartment for 3 months. And then I was like, fuck, I'm going to have to, there's no way I'm going to stay here for 3 months. So I ended up shortening it down to 2 months. Um, and as soon as I did that, I was like, okay, I can get through this. And then my family were coming over to visit for a few days. My girlfriend was coming over to visit for a few days. Um, and then I actually joined BetterHelp again. So I did some, or not again, but I did counseling for the second time. So I worked with a therapist on that, kind of got through that 2 weeks of feeling depressed. Felt a lot better then, got to see the whole island, was pretty happy with that. And then ended up flying back with my girlfriend on like the 24th or 25th of October, and was like really happy just to get back home to Ireland. And I was like, okay, 5 months of traveling done, seen Spain, France, Sicily, got to go to 3 different countries. So I was pretty happy with that, loads of different cities. And yeah, I'm actually much happier now that I've moved in with my girlfriend. So that's my